So we have added this photo list in our photo editor component in our previous video. In this video, we will set the primary photo on clicking this main button, and we will refresh the primary photo here as well. This image is on the parent component and this photo list on the child component. So to refresh this image in parent component, on clicking of this set button, we will have to use output decorator here. Until now, we only have seen how to use input decorator to pass the information from parent component to the child component. In this video, we will see how to use the output decorator to pass the information from child component to the parent component. Let's see how to do all these next. So we already have created this API endpoint to set the primary photo of a property. In order to consume this API endpoint in our Angular app, we need to create a new method in our service, and we will use that method in our component to call this endpoint on clicking the main button. Let's go to our services folder where we have created different services. We will add this new method to set the primary photo here in the housing.service. In this service, we already have few methods that are being used in our various components. Let's add one more method here. Location doesn't matter. We can add the method anywhere if we are satisfied with that location. Let me add it at the bottom and name it set primary photo. If we look at the endpoint, we need to pass two parameters here. One is a property ID and another one is a public photo ID. So we need to pass these two parameters from our Angular application into this API method. Let's add these parameters here as the property ID of type number and the property photo ID as string. And in this method, we will use HTTP client to call our web API endpoint. We already have injected HTTP client in our constructor of this service class. So we can send HTTP request like this.http, and we will use the post here because set primary method is a post method in our web API. And in the post method of this HTTP request, the first parameter is the URL of the API method. Let's use this.base URL that we are already getting from the environment variable, because this base URL can be the different for the production and test environments. So this part we are getting in the base URL. Let me copy the remaining part from here and concatenate it with our base URL. These two parameters we will get in this method from our UI. So instead of hard coding it, we will get it from these two parameters. Let's make it dynamic. We can use plus operator to concatenate the strings. So we are done with the first parameter of this post method. Now the second mandatory parameter of the post method is body. But we are not passing anything in the body of this API method. You can pass a blank object here. The third parameter is an optional parameter where we can pass HTTP headers as an object. If we look at our API endpoint, we are passing the bearer token as authorization header, so that only authenticated user should only be able to call this method. We need to pass the same here as the HTTP headers. So instead of directly passing different headers, we can store a request header in a constant that we can use here to keep this method a little cleaner. We have already passed the authorization header in add property method also, I think. Let me copy it from here to save some time. Here we are just creating an anonymous object to push the HTTP headers in our method. And this bearer token we are already storing in our local storage whenever a user is logged in. So we are getting that token from the local storage. Let's pass this constant here as the third parameter. Not sure why we are getting this error. Okay, this property is a number and we are trying to concatenate it with the string. That is why we are getting this error. Let's convert it to a string. So now error gone. Let me split it into two lines so that you can read the complete code. So our method is ready to use in our photo editor component. Let's go to our photo editor component and use this method there. So add a method here that we will call on clicking the main button. Name it set primary photo and define parameters. The first one is property ID of type number, and second one we will take a photo object, as we need to use other information of the photo here in addition to the photo public ID in this method. As we need to call a method from the housing service here, we need to inject housing service in our constructor so that we can use the methods of this service in our component. Now we can call set primary method from this housing service and pass the required parameter here, property ID and photo.public ID. To call this method, we need to call subscribe method. We will come back here to add more code into this method, but for now let's call this method on clicking the main button in our HTML template. Go to our HTML template and bind the click event of this main button to call set primary photo method on clicking this button. Pass property.id as first parameter and pass photo as second parameter. So our minimum viable code is ready. We can test it now if everything is working fine or not up to this point. So let's test it. So our web API method has authorization checks as well, and it makes sure that user should only be able to set the primary photo only for the property that belongs to them. So I am logged in from the Sandeep account, and I know that this property does not belongs to the Sandeep. Let me try to set a primary photo of this property. So I am getting this unknown error occurred. Let me check in the network monitor to see what error we are getting in the API response. So I am getting this bad request from the server, and in the response we are getting an error. You are not authorized to change the photo. So instead of getting an unknown error, we should get this message from the Alertify alert. We will fix it later in this video, but before that, let's try to set the main photo for the property that was uploaded by the Sandeep. So I know this is the property uploaded by Sandeep. Let me try to change the main photo. So we have not received any error. And if we look at the network monitor, the request is successful with the code 204. But as we have not coded to refresh this button and the image, we will have to refresh this page manually to see if the primary photo has been changed or not. Yep, the photo has changed, so our code is working fine. Another check is also there in our web API method is that if a photo is already a main photo, it will throw an error. Let's check that as well. And if I click this main button in the backend, this is now our primary photo. But we are not disabling this button at present. We are able to click this again. We got this error. And if we look at the response of this API, we are getting error. This is already a primary photo. So that means our web API is working fine. Let's look why we are getting only unknown error for all these failure instead of getting the actual error next. So this HTTP error handling we have done through HTTP error interceptor here in the services. This is the class where we are handling different types of HTTP errors. Here in this set error method, we are handling different errors. And if any error does not fall in any of these cases, we are returning this default error. So at present, we are getting this default error for all the test cases. And the reason is we are returning an error just as a plain text. But this method is not handling the plain text here. Instead, it is expecting an error as JSON object containing a node with error message like this. But these new methods are returning error just as a plain text. So if we will just use error.error, it should work. Let me test it. Yep, it works. Let's add one more if statement here to our interceptor to handle this kind of error as well. We should return this error only in case if error.error message does not contain value and error.error contains value. So let's retest. So error handling is working fine now. Let's update our code now to enable this main button and disable another button as soon as new photo is set as the main photo. Let's go to the photo editor component and we will add the code here to set the isPrimary flag of the photo that is being used to enable and disable the main button in our HTML template. So the logic here will be to iterate all the photos associated to the property and reset the isPrimary flag here in this loop. For each method, allow us to pass callback function as an argument. We can use lambda function here and we can get the each element of array as argument here. So we can get the current photo reference here in a variable and we can use this variable here to check if current photo is the primary one. Set isPrimary equal false. And in another if, we can check if public ID of this photo is equal to the public ID of the photo that is being clicked through our interface. We can set isPrimary flag of that photo equal true. That's it. Let's test if it works or not. Yup, it's working fine. As soon as we are clicking the photo, it is getting enabled and other buttons are getting disabled. But this photo is not being refreshed and we have to click this refresh button to get the latest primary photo at present. So the last and very interesting topic of this video is now to refresh this image in real time on clicking this main button. We will learn how to use the output decorator to refresh this image next. So if we look at the structure of this form, we have this editor component that we are using inside a photo detail component. So this is the parent component and this is the child component. So whenever this main button is clicked, the image URL of this image should also be changed. So we need a way to raise some event that our parent component should listen to. And on clicking this main button in our child component, our parent component should be able to change the image URL of this photo. Also, that event should be able to pass a new image URL to our parent component so that parent component use that URL to refresh this image. To implement all these functionality, we can use output decorator here. So here in photo editor component, just like this input decorator, we can use @output decorator. It is used to raise an event to notify the parent of the change. Let's name it main photo changed event. To raise an event, an @output must have the type of event emitter. And we can mention what type of data this event emitter is going to emit here. Seems some problem. Why getting this error? Okay, got it. Auto import has used the EventEmitter class from the protector library, while it should be from a class in at Angular/core library. Yep, now error is gone. Let's add a method name main photo changed and get the URL as string here. And in this method, raise this main photo changed event and emit the new URL of the main photo. We will use this method here in setPrimaryPhoto method that is being called on clicking the main button in our HTML template. And we will pass the image URL of the photo that is being clicked into this method. So whenever the main button is clicked on any photo, an event will be raised and the image URL of that photo will be transmitted by this event. Now the final part is that we need to bind this event in our parent component so that our parent component can listen to this event. So our parent component is the property detail component. Here we are using this main photo URL field in our component to display the primary photo. So we should have a way to change this photo URL in our component. Let's add a method to change primary photo and get the main photo URL as parameter of type string in this method and set this main photo URL equals main photo URL that we will receive from the event emitter we just have created in our photo editor component. Finally, in the HTML template of this component where we are embedding our photo editor component, we need to bind main photo changed event and we can call our method to set primary photo and pass the event value as parameter here. Seems I have defined some different name in the component. Yup, it is change primary photo, not set primary photo. So that's it. Let's check if it is working fine or not. Perfect. The image is now getting changed on clicking this main button. So all the functionality we have discussed at the start of this video has been implemented. In our next video, we will implement the functionality to delete the photo on clicking of this delete button. See you in the next video. Stay tuned. Bye bye.